The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Week 7 of the CFL. This is Game 6 for the Ticats coming up. Toronto at Hamilton. The game day is Friday the 21st, 7:30 p.m. Reminder, fans, you can always send your questions for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca. We have a good question later on in this episode. Coach, it's great to see you. Congrats on your team's second consecutive win.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. It's winning is fun. That was a tough turnaround there, short week, and a lot of things that go into it. So super proud of everybody, coaches, the whole organization, players, obviously. Great team win. Put that in the rearview mirror and let's go forward.
Went out to Edmonton, like you said, on the short week, and a few things to me seem like they're trending in the right direction. You know, 0-3 start, and there was a list of things that we were talking about, that turnovers, penalties, and things, and now you've got some things on the right track. Maybe we start with the run game. You had some games early in the season with very limited run game production, and now you've got a guy, specifically James Butler, and I know that the run game is bigger than one man, but boy, he's making a difference in these games. Can you talk about, what's allowed for so much success and such a change in that run game?
Well, first of all, he's just a phenomenal person that works hard. When you acquire somebody like that, it's easy to talk about the tangible skills that you're acquiring and that he's, X, Y, and Z. But you always have to wait and kind of see what kind of person you have, the character, the work ethic. How does he respond to adversity? Does he play through pain? There's so many things that you don't know when you acquire a player or a person, and he's been better than advertised in that area. As far as the high achievement here lately, I think there is a more of a commitment to the run, and I think that bodes well for most backs. Sometimes, if you're a scat back and you've got quick burst, sometimes you only need a few carries and you can make something big out of it. I'd put McAllister, I'd put Tyreek kind of in that category. But other backs, I think it takes a little bit, right? It's no different than although you probably didn't want to get smacked hard, but, once you got your first tackle or things like that, you kind of start getting lathered up a little bit. So, and also, like you said, it's a collective effort. You look up front, you're starting to see some movement consistently, not sporadically. You're starting to see a little bit of consistency there, a little bit more physicality, and I think all of that bodes well.
Yeah, we'll talk about the O-line too. I mean, you had 7 O-line in this game, and seemed like you stayed pretty healthy up there. They allowed 2 sacks, but they were part of that strong run game too. I mean, early in the season, not only was there trouble getting pressure, preventing pressure on your quarterback, but you had injuries like crazy up there. You said more physicality. Is that group, that front 5, are they? You see them tangibly getting better as well?
Yeah, I think anytime you can have some cohesiveness there, it's something that helps. Right. And, at the end of the day, the players make the plays. You got to do it collectively. If somebody messes up front, then, there's somebody that's penetrating a gap, and then, you're behind the sticks and it's 2nd and 12. So it is a collective effort. And I think there's consistency. I think that's the key word. There's a little bit more consistency there. And I think when you fire off the rock, you're going to see you're either physical or you're not. Right. Yeah. When you're pass setting, it's a different technique. And so I think we're starting to get it, and part of getting it is being healthy. And I think getting Riley back out there was a big help. And the big thing is just not to rest. Right, we haven't arrived. We're not there. It's a long season. This will be after this game, this will be a third of the season. All of a sudden, you're a third of the way in, and then you reevaluate, see where you're at.
Yeah. You're right. It does. My locker used to be in the O-line cache of the locker room, if you remember. And I was whatever, indoctrinated into that corner of the space. Those guys, I was sick and tired of hearing them complain about how little we ran the ball because it helps those guys, whatever. And I can't speak to the intimacies of why that is other than just, they get to run forward, like you said, instead of catch everything back. And it seems like in Edmonton, you could see that O-line, they were free, man. They were able to, if you can take off the ball like that, that defense, especially the front four of that defense, has to be more honest in their they can't tee off on a pass rush every single play. Just as the offense kind of gaining a little bit of cohesiveness, a little bit of balance as the season progresses.
I think so. I think there's a better understanding of what we're doing, and I think receivers are, they're asked to do a lot right now. They're in there blocking, and I think they're willingly doing it, and it's showing. We're making the edges a little bit longer and that sort of thing. But I think, offensively, there's a better understanding of what it is we're trying to accomplish. We have a better understanding of who we are, people's strengths and weaknesses. And then after that, then you add the game plan. But I think slowly we're having our own identity versus just always reacting to the team that we're playing. And then what scheme are we putting in? It's like, no, I don't really care about your scheme as much as we maybe had in the past. This is what we're going to do, and you're going to have to prove you can stop it. And then we'll adjust our game plan accordingly. That's
great. So you found this balance, James Butler and Tyreek McAllister. Describe the differences between those guys and how they fit into your game plan in different ways.
I would say that they're just change of pace backs that just complement each other well. I think Tyreek has the ability to maybe play a little bit of receiver also. He stretches the field a little bit different. He hits the hole a little bit different. And it's still unveiling itself. He hasn't got a ton of carries, but it does take a little bit off of James, right? Sometimes it's easy to say run it, but once you have a 10-yard run, a 7-yard run, you get knocked off one time, and that sort of thing happens. You need a break. And your break can't always be a pass. And so when you have a change of pace guy like that, all of a sudden you're wearing somebody down, and maybe you run an outside zone. You keep that D-line moving. While you may get stopped, you're still having them run sideline to sideline. And as you know, Luke, you've been around so long that some plays just set up other plays. If you don't run it, regardless of the amount of yardage gained on it, you're not really. Some plays set up other plays. Let's just say it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So things are trending right, but then of course you get Matt Schultz who's can't finish that game. Taylor Powell comes in. Not bad to come in and throw a touchdown on your first pass. That was well received, I think, by Ticat fans. If he's the guy who's going to take the field this week and going forward, what can Ticat fans expect from Taylor Powell?
Well, that he's going to leave it on the field. He loves football. He is a natural leader. He's going to work at it. You can't, he's not going to be perfect, but I can tell you this, that he's not going to skip any steps behind the scenes. He's going to be in the building, grinding, working, accepts hard coaching, is hard on himself, but gives himself enough grace. He just kind of has a little bit of that it when it comes to playing the quarterback position, but also is very humble in that he knows he doesn't know it all. So that's what you can expect. You're going to have to just really not judge everything on every throw and the expectations, right? Mm-hmm. As he plays more, there's going to be a book on him, right? So sometimes quarterbacks come in and do really well, and then all of a sudden you get D coordinators and other teams staring at every little habit that you have, and it's the ones that can survive that and still produce and not have a 4 or 5 pick game and can get through it that I've found throughout this league that find a way to have longevity.
Yeah. He struck me, and we don't have a great sample size yet, but it struck me as a guy who it's not too big for him. He came in, he appeared relatively calm kind of, you never know when it's because of an injury that the backup comes in. You get 45 seconds, maybe. Depends how long the guy's on the field for you, and then all of a sudden you're in. And I find that can be jarring. But for him, it seemed like it wasn't too big. Is that the personality that you would attribute him with?
Yeah, and that's how I mentioned it after the game. The moments don't seem too big for him, and that's not of arrogance. That's confidence in himself. Just respect for the game and studying. And it's, confidence, in my opinion, comes from preparation. And if you're prepared, then you just go perform. It doesn't mean it always goes how you plan, but it's no different than taking a test, right? If you put the time in, you're not squirming in your seat. You just take the test. It doesn't mean you get an A, but you're not going to fail, most of the time, right? Now, it's the times you're not prepared and you've taken some shortcuts and maybe skim some chapters where you're like, oh, I hope this one doesn't show up because I didn't spend a lot of time on that. And sometimes you win, and sometimes, it's the first two questions. You're like, damn it, but that's kind of what it is. You prepare. You can't, you don't want to over prepare. You don't want to paralyze yourself because you're not going to know it all. You got to filter it. And at the end of the day, you got to play the game. So you prepare, you perform, play the game, and you go for W's. That's
great. Let's get to a fan question here related to the QBs. This one's from Dave in Hamilton. Okay, this is 2 quarterbacks injured. This is very common in the CFL. Dave asks, I've always wondered, is it a hard decision to decide who starts after injuries? If Bo comes back, or also if Matt Schultz comes back, are they automatically the starting quarterback again? Or is it Powell's job, and will he stay there if he plays well? Thanks, and go Ticats. Dave from Hamilton.
Dave, that's a great question, and I don't think there's a cookie-cutter answer to that, like yes or no. Yes, if Taylor plays well, he will be the guy. Why would we break it up? Or, no, it makes perfect sense. When Bo's our guy, we went and got him for a reason. He will be the starter. We will make that decision off of what we see and off of our gut when that arises. So it could be a case where, it's very clear what we should do. But there might be a case where somebody's playing extremely well and we'll have a tough decision. Maybe they play both. I think the most prevalent example I can remember of that is Casey Printers winning the MOP in 2012 for the BC Lions. Dave had gotten hurt, Dickinson. And in the Grey Cup, Dave Dickinson started. Now, you'd have to ask Wally Buono, why that was or whatnot. But I thought that was an interesting choice, and I don't have any judgment on what was right or wrong. So there's a guy who's the all-time winningest coach that for his football team at that time, you got to believe that's the decision he made. And so I got to believe, and my hope is that it is tough, that Taylor comes in there and plays well and we win games, and we have to make that tough decision, Dave. But to tell you what way I'm trending right now, I'd be misleading you and everybody else.
Insightful question. Thanks, Dave. Again, Ticat fans and listeners, you can send any question for Coach O to gameday@ticats.ca, and we choose one every episode to ask Coach. And thanks. It's been a fun part of our episodes here.
I got my history wrong. There's no way that was 2012. No chance. That would have been 2000. It was 2004. So you can Google that. 2004. 12 would have been the 100th Grey Cup in Toronto. So I just caught myself.
Nice. I wasn't able to catch it because I came in up here at 2013 and I couldn't remember if that was right or not.
All right. Well, the least I can do is remind you what you were doing, and that was reminding everybody who this is sponsored by. So go for it.
There you go. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home reno, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at TurkstraLumber.com. Coach, on to Toronto. They're coming to Tim Hortons Field end of this week. The last undefeated team in the league. What's it take to beat a team like that?
Well, they're doing a phenomenal job of jumping on people early, and they're very physical. They're the defending Grey Cup champions. They're confident. Even when people get up on them, that you can tell that there's a belief. They're clicking. They're solid in 3 phases. I find that they're not beating themselves. They run the ball very effectively, where their quarterback's not having to drop back 40, 45 times. And it's boded well for them. And they've had to, they've withstood whatever they've went through, and so we're gonna have a big challenge ahead. But shoot, division game, they're probably the best team in the league currently. You want to find out where you're at? Let's this is what you want.
Yeah. They get out to early leads, and the net result of the Edmonton game was, of course, positive, tons of good, like we've already talked about. But it was a slow start for your team. What's the game plan to avoid a slow start at home versus Toronto?
Just to capitalize. Part of that starting slow was, we muffed the opening kickoff. Yep. And that's what I'm most proud of, though, is on the road, short week, could have turned on each other, could have said, what the heck, all there was support for that player, that person. And we rebounded. We always talk about adversity response. So we just have to take advantage of our opportunity. And if that's a back and forth game, we need to win the battle of field position. That means we got to punt the ball a little bit better placement, and just let it work itself out versus being backed up all the time. Sometimes the points aren't going to show up because their other team may be winning the battle of field position and pinning you deep, where you get a couple of first downs, but you're punting from your own 30 or 35, maybe 40, and you just can't get the field flipped. And so it's during those times where you just can't be giving up touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So it's about keeping the ball on offense, getting off the field, and then obviously when you do have to punt or cover, you got to be highly effective on special teams.
Yeah. Such a different layout for the CFL season this year, and I can't remember, honestly, if you and I have discussed this point yet or not, but we've been talking about it on the Ticats audio network, that you're loaded in the East to start the season. And it felt like it was never that way when I played. I don't know. It felt like you had a long runway into the East Division games. And in 3 weeks from now, which will be the halfway point of the season, almost, not even, you'll have played twice against each of your East Division opponents. It's a little different. I mean, the season, it's going to take shape quicker than other years, and it's almost like you got to find your rhythm and find your A game. Your team's got to be on top of things way earlier than sometimes it does. It's a little different, don't you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a different thing, but I can tell you that from the inside out, we're going to play the next team on the schedule. Do we know it's the Eastern? To say that we don't know that, that's not what I'm saying. We definitely are aware of that. It is a different thing, but at the end of the day, if you keep winning, no matter who it is, East or West, when you look up, yeah, you may have won or lost a season series or something in the East, and could that be the difference between a home playoff game or a bye? Absolutely. Is that important? Absolutely. But the most important thing is to win. And I think winning close games, that's really what matters. When you find a way to do that, even if the other team has the momentum at the end, like Edmonton did, and things weren't going, it still becomes a close game. As long as you're on the winning side of those close games, it does bode well, and it doesn't really matter which division of team you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, good stuff. I appreciate your time and your insight, and good luck in this week as you prep for a great home game at Tim Hortons Field this Friday night. I will see you there.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats audio network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.